Avraham, Manishma. It's good to see you here in Tel Aviv, in your humble abode. So, today this week we were at the Knesset. We had a good time. We spoke to some of the Knesset members. We briefed them about, you spoke to them about the plan you have. I spoke to them about the Sanhedrin initiative, and so on. So my question to you is, I have a lot of viewers that want to understand what you called in the earlier last year at the Sanhedrin establishment in Yerushalayim meeting, you called it the Chukah Leman HaPrat, right?
Yes.
So what I understood, and correct me if I'm wrong, and of course you said that there's a few things that have progressed since then. So Chukah Leman HaPrat is the individual satisfaction from the way the government serves him and protects him?
Let's speak in one language. A constitution for the individual, that is a constitutional framework for the individual, is a series of legal prescriptions to fix the state of Israel, its legal structure, its administrative structure, and to provide excellent AI-driven services to the individual, and that's why it's called a constitution for the individual. It also includes a charter of the individual jurisdiction, which is basically a charter of rights, which tells artificial intelligence, personalized assistance, the basis on which they are allowed to act, and that is to respect the individual, to respect the individual's liberties and the individual's freedoms and the individual's empowerment and the individual's speech and the individual's dreams and the individual's wishes and the individual's satisfaction. And there's a list going from A to Z, or from Aleph to Taf, the Hebrew letters, naming all the wonderful ideas associated with humanity, and that is almost like a written instruction, or the writing of the oral traditions into a protocol to instruct artificial intelligence how to serve humanity.
100%.
This needs to be included in a constitution for the state of Israel to lead the world in instructing how artificial intelligence should serve humankind, to the individuals, for the individuals' enhanced and empowered imagination and satisfaction.
100%. I want to start from the beginning. I want you to take a moment to address the issues that have brought you, or the story that has brought you to decide that this package, I thought would focus first on the concept, and then on the AI which is going to fulfill that concept. So first, let's talk about the issues. What issues do you see today in the current modern system that you feel many people are suffering from, up to 100% of the population, that you feel needs this huge correction? What are we addressing?
Okay. People everywhere are suffering. The widow is crying, the orphan is wounded, the Levite is wandering, the father and the widow are alone and miserable. There is endemic strife. People are fighting with each other, leveraging each other's weaknesses. The only people enjoying it are lawyers, legal structures, bureaucracies, data exchanges. There is no great satisfaction on the part of the individual, and it seems that there is a structure in place where people are benefiting from the problems.
The suffering of others.
The people are benefiting from the suffering of others. And whilst there are alternatives, there are reasonable alternatives, and like there were alternatives through satellite coverage of the internet from land coverage, or like people now have mobile telephones instead of public telephones, or that we don't need an operator to connect us, or we don't need translators because we have Google Translate. There will be AI-driven guides to our personal circumstances and to our wishes. These AI instruments can either be used by data companies where the company collects the data and uses it for themselves and throws away its value vis-a-vis individuals, or the government or a constitution, a brave government gets involved and legislates to ensure that every individual has the right to individual AI, like the right to protect themselves, to bear weapons, or to the right to be literate, to learn how to read and write, or the right to have a profession, or to study until the age of 18, to have a primary and tertiary and higher education. The right to use artificial intelligence makes a person from an average person into a superhuman, informed,
saves them time, energy, on the mundane, boring tasks,
and gives a lot of rest time, a lot of more time for creativity, and also gives a perspective, a data perspective, like a cloud, like a sonar, like a
point of reference for the person,
a point
as well.
of reference from above of how that person could behave, and
correct themselves,
and to correct themselves, and to refine themselves.
So I want to go back.
And it measures everything about now. If this just as either a person can be measured by an external force, and then maybe to be bullied or threatened, or they can use the technology to measure the external force and to be able to manage and to be able to efficiently manage and understand and incentivize the external forces, the government forces, to serve the individual and to free the human imagination.
Okay, thank you. I wanted to step on another topic, especially, again, we're running from the problem and from the right into the solution, and of course we're using this very powerful tool, which is artificial intelligence, which is inevitably taking over the way technology in the world. So I want to go back for a moment, just as we said, to correct course, and I believe that at least from what I'm involved in with the Sanhedrin initiative, we're talking about the fight between good and evil in a certain respect. The fight between special, that everybody is special, like the Torah tells us, whereas the way the internet is functioning is like everybody's just a statistic, or you're just another something, another piece of the algorithm. So I want to articulate. Do you believe that the Sanhedrin, for example, within the context of the Jewish state, within the context of the currently majority religious government, would be able to successfully monitor and guide so that when the AI processes is entered into society, it is morally and ethically balanced according to the traditions of the Jewish people, and then they can use system.
Can you let me please answer?
Yeah.
Any system will be corrupted if there's not a good system in place, and there's not checks and balances, and so we call it a Sanhedrin. If it's not done properly, it'll be corrupted. That's what the story of the criticism of told in the New Testament of the Sanhedrin is, because there were suspicions that it was being corrupted, even though Jesus was a Pharisee and supported the idea, and Paul was a student of Gamaliel. A system can be corrupted. I believe that a system that can be developed, which has not really been done in the history of statecraft, is the system advised by Jethro to Moses to appoint good people, righteous people, people who hate sin and who love and who are fearful of God and who are brave and capable and know the name, they say, know the name. In other words, they know how to define the good name, know the difference between good and bad, and then put on them ministers of thousands, hundreds, fifties and tens. This idea of combining, synthesizing good people, capable people with a system of anyone who has a problem is referred as a referral system to someone who can solve it within groups of tens, and someone who can't solve it, then he'll go to another ten. This system is a highly mathematical system. It would to use it in ancient times would have required a lot of complexity. But with AI, it's very, very simple, that we can start solving and measuring problems, the efficacy of problems.
Would that be similar to like when Facebook came out? They were always like, "Do you have the friends near you?" You know, like you want to sign up with the friends in your area.
Sure,
something
friends
like
and groups, but not
a little more
for
detailed
communication, but really for problem solving. And that in the future, journalists won't be talking about yellow journalism and gossip, but they will be referring problem solvers to problems. I see the idea of turning our problems into assets by opening up a problem bank, a problem and complaint bank, especially complaints against government and government inefficiency or negligence or wrongdoing and problems, and then start rallying the solutions and measuring the efficacy of those finding the solutions to solving problems, and to create a value structure on the efficacy of problems to solutions, instead of the shekel, instead of the dollar, instead of Bitcoin.
I want to talk to that when we talk about value, yeah? So today, of course, we see the modern society value this money, which is really not based on any gold or silver, like Mr. Rafi Farber spoke about in Yerushalayim. So regarding the economy and the correct way the economy should function. So we have this inflation, we have this printing, we have the debt ceiling. We've spent, the United States as a government has spent, has raked up debt that they haven't raked up in the last 200 years. They've managed to do it in the last 20 years. So the system is failing on multiple levels. When we're talking about instilling in AI a new protocol, right? My question to you is, what do you think, or do you think that we can take concepts of value, in addition to problem solving, which is really Ahavat Yisrael, which is helping a fellow man? What do you think the currencies of value in this new system would be?
It's just very simple. The greatest ideal in Jewish literature, of the prophetic literature, is told every man under their fig and under their vine without any stress. In other words, chilling and hanging out. And another ideal is expressed in the idea of the seventh day, Shabbat. Another name for it is Yom HaShvi'i, the seventh day. And the word Shvi'i is the root word for Savah, Saveh, satisfaction, the day of satisfaction. And that is the measure of the 6 days you shall work, and the seventh thou shalt be satisfied. And satisfaction is not just a state of mind, it's also a measurement. It's a measurement of everything. And I believe that we should start measuring the humanity in terms of individual satisfaction with the services they're getting from their appointed officers, from the government that they've appointed, and that the satisfaction should be should be calculated, should be measured, should be tracked, should be supervised, should be mapped, should be reviewed, and should be used to be more efficient all the time. And that can be done simply.
So the satisfaction...
by artificial intelligence, by what I call the Kli Ezer, the instrument, the artificial instrument, the artificial personalized instrument.
So I think that, at least from my research, at least, I want to share like a concept, and I want to see what do you think about that? Because I believe that we have to delve deeper into the problem that we're trying to solve as humanity. I believe that if we don't understand the issue well enough, where just like when you want to go from point A to point B, if you don't know where you're coming from, you're not going to really get to where you're going, because you don't really understand the dynamics.
It's mapping, it's triangulation,
Yes.
it's GPS and targeting.
Right. So
and the technology is very much
right. But so in a mental, intellectual, and of course historical context, I want to say that the Romans, or Edom, as far as Judaism is concerned, is the guy who he's given a blessing by his father Isaac. Al Charbech Tichya. You should live on.
Just one language.
Yes. Okay. So you should live on your sword. You should prosper on your sword. And why would Isaac, a righteous man, give his son a blessing to prosper on his sword? Because initially his job was to protect his brother Jacob and keep him studying Torah, like you said, give him peace. But Esav goes out to the field. He becomes part of the problem. He becomes part of the issue that he was supposed to be solving. He's not exactly... Isaac never throws him out of the house, but he kinds of, with his behavior, excuses himself, sells his birthright to Jacob. There's a whole fight about that. So in the modern day, we have the same kind of dynamic with the Christians, which are like, they're kind of learning the Bible, but they're still killing Jews. The reason I'm bringing this in is because we have this, the internet right now is the way at least it's set up right now, and people deal with it on a daily basis, especially the youngsters. One second. Is that the internet is a great tool on one hand, and on the other hand, it's almost like the tax in Sodom and Gomorrah for using this tool is to the degeneracy of the world, the modernization. Now, my question to you is, do you believe that the Sanhedrin can help or should help to enable the Jewish people to be a light unto the nations of correct?
One moment, okay. The Sanhedrin has no right to exist without problem solving for its nation.
Yeah.
The function of a Sanhedrin, of wise people, is to lighten the burden, direct the people, and bring them to their inheritance in satisfaction on their land. If a Sanhedrin can't do that, is not prepared to do that, or doesn't have tools, or hasn't thought about how to do it, then it has no right under the sun to get involved in these types of things, and to call itself and to think that it can wave its wand its religious
100%,
wand or
100%.
its staff and demand some sort of obedience or recognition without it producing a instruments and methodology is misled religious thinking.
Okay, so I 100% agree with every word you just said, and I would like to point out that, okay, my words might feel like they're going on the border of free choice, but I'll give you just two examples. You can have a student in a university or in a yeshiva, and he's directed into an environment which brings out the best quality with the best teachers and the best study and prayer, whatever, and services. And then you have the alleyway in the back, right, where if the youngsters hang out over there, it brings out maybe they still have free choice, right? The guy in the university or in the yeshiva and the guy on the street still has free choice, but the choices are kind of pushed into certain directions, right? At the end of the day, every person is responsible. I'm just asking, do you believe that the Sanhedrin, at least for those who are interested in that, because all the Arabs fighting against the Americans, a lot of the reasons is basically they know exactly what the West is selling, they know exactly what the West is selling, and they don't want a part of that. They want to preserve the family unit. My question is, do you believe that the Sanhedrin has the right to at least help and assist those who would like to be separated from certain elements of society?
I want to meet the elders of Israel who feel that there should be a Sanhedrin and understand their policies and how they intend to uplift the downtrodden and how they intend to build the infrastructure of the redemption and what tools they are going to be using and what measures and how they're going to be representing the people and how they're going to know that the people are happy and satisfied, and how they're going to bring about the biblical promises and
redemption,
prophecies.
Yeah. The Garden of Eden. Yeah.
I want to interview Messiah's town planners.
Yes, sir. You shall, with Hashem's help. Yes. So I believe. You see, the Torah, for example, just historically speaking, for a moment, if I may, just the Torah has been translated from Latin, and the Christians weren't allowed. The average Christian, not the educated ones, weren't even allowed to study the Torah unless they were reading it in Latin, and most people didn't know Latin. It's only recently, in the last 100 years, that many Christians...
It's the Catholic Church. The Protestants have been interpreting for some time, the last 250 years or longer.
Yes. Well, you do see a lot of revisions in the church. The Pope is not surrounded by books, and he's not studying all day. There's all these revisions. Today we're not going to kill the Jews. After the Spanish Inquisition, we're going to try a different tactic of...
Okay, well, the Jews too have had long periods of time where we've had revisions and interpretations and systems and replaced each other.
Yes, but we've never...
So it's a good sign that people are fluid, theologically and interpretively fluid.
Right.
It's good to be... The religion is really a model for interpretation. Just like a verb, you can conjugate the verb in Hebrew. You can conjugate it. It is important to be able to conjugate our mental states. It's important for adaptation, but there needs to be some sort of basis to it, an accepted basis to it. Christians...
Okay. So I'm just saying that...
our reality is going to change, and religious reality in the whole world is going to change. When AI, personalized instruments, come to be, and they will be our trainers and our guides and our inspirers and our teachers, and very much not our trainers, maybe we'll have external judges. There will have to be an external judge, but certainly there'll be our priests, our doctors, our attorneys, and our trainers, and we will get everything from our artificial intelligence guides. And religion will need to,
keep up with it.
Keep up with that, and also still be able to create a system of inspiring or creating the community. This is the real opportunity for communities and community leadership.
I know, but Judaism's been around for thousands and thousands of years, yeah? And many, many, many revolutions and revelations and new technology have come around the world. Even something as great as artificial intelligence, my hunch is that Judaism is going to relatively not be affected very, very greatly.
I mean, the reason why Judaism is not going to be is going to thrive on it is because our major model, our major imagery, religious imagery, is the tabernacle with all its labors, all its the embroidery and the hammering and the sewing and the colouring and the 39 major labours required in building the tabernacle, which are prohibited on the Sabbath, is really a showcase of the technologies, the ancient technologies of the...
You just said that which are prohibited on the Sabbath, so I want to say that...
Of the ancient Near East, the major technologies which were ritualized and taken on our shoulders and completely mobile, in stark contrast to the pyramids of Egypt, where the gods were buried in those huge structures, and yes, highly technological and highly structured and advanced, but they were permanent, whilst the technologies of the tabernacle were mobile, and that in that comparison, and is what really allows us to culturally embrace high tech, and no less than artificial intelligence technology, and to embrace it and to have it as part of our religious right and as part of our even a partnership or a covenant with technology.
Covenant's a heavy word, but okay.
I'm talking about technology. The Hebrew word for the first covenant of circumcision, it comes from mal, and malach. The
milah is from the shorish. Okay, similar.
It could be argued that lamul is a surgical intervention, a technological intervention on our skins, and not on our skins, but on our procreative organ. so that that it is technology as something which is enmeshed in our. I would say that that Judaism is a religion that teaches the covenant of mankind with technology.
I believe that the bris, I mean, I understand what you're saying, but it signifies sacrificing. The most scary thing that anyone wants to touch is, that area, and when you
not at all. Not if it's infected. You certainly want.
Yeah, you certainly I know, but
there'd be no problems of cutting it between cutting it and having an infection. You want to cut it.
Right, 100%. But I believe that but I understand. They're basically refining how the next generations will be.
Just take the first letter of the number system, Echad, 1. That comes with the word Chad, sharp. That's a knife. You take the second number, Shtayim.
Shtayim.
Shti, that's to needle. Shti va'erev. So Chad, knife, Shti, sewing. These are basic instrumentations. That's the basis of it. Shalosh is to do a loop. Things Arba is to do is symmetry. The numbers are a plateau of our intellectual, our methodologies, our human, and also the alphabet is also. These are major.
There's lots of depth there.
A lot of information about our old civilizations, and part of it, and very much part of it, is the instrumentation.
Okay, so
let us embrace instrumentation, and let us have our culture. Let us our culture should be the one that accelerates us to be first adopters of this high tech, but to manage it, and that's the critical thing. To give it, it's a covenant. To give it the brit. To give it a brit. To circumcise artificial intelligence.
Yes.
And to make sure that it's circumcised into the human, the procreation, to the betterment,
to the human needs,
and to the human needs, and to the betterment, the welfare, and the procreation, the continuation, the individual continuation of humanity. And that's why we need to circumcise artificial intelligence.
So we can program, for example, AI to decide what the right character traits of a Sanhedrin member should be, so that even after maybe we're not around, the AI will still have that protocol.
Every member of every individual will have their artificial intelligence instruments, and they will be remembered. This will be eventually the source for eternal life, because they will eventually, everything about them will be remembered, and they can be stored in database and be remembered and recalled. In addition to that, members of the Sanhedrin and members of great people, their data banks will also be stored, and their decisions will be stored, and the effects of the decisions. You can actually trace the effects of a decision if it had impact.
Positive or negative.
If it had positive and negative, and over periods of time. So everything can be mapped for its efficacy.
Avram, should we ask the guys what they think about what we're talking about?
Okay, we can have some questions from
the fellows.
Okay.
How should future Sanhedrin include the technological circumcision?
Okay, so a righteous people fearing sin, knowing the name. This was the criteria given by Jethro to Moses. I think that the criteria is good folk, good honest people. That's the basis. Then Jethro says, give them a law, give them a constitution, how they should behave. Give them the guidelines, because there can be many different guidelines. You can't just to have honest people. You have to have some guidelines. Give them the laws and the guidelines. These honest folk. And then, in addition to that, everyone follows the guidelines. But in addition, anyone who's got problems, they then, and this is where I think the mechanism I'm proposing, a problem bank and a registry, a problem and complaint registry. You've got a problem, anyone's got a problem, they quickly get things, and then it goes straight AI driven to, they're asked a couple of questions, who can solve it, who they think, and then it basically is filtered through AI driven, incentivized with a method of incentivizing it to experts and if there's a problem, it's gone to this group of people, Sanhedrin, who they will be a body of experts who will identify who the different people or different solution routes to solve a problem. And problems are solved, and anything which is not solved, it's their responsibility to do. And therefore, a Sanhedrin that would have to be a competing body that solves problems and people are satisfied with.
Elon Musk is developing a robot that he expects in a couple of years every person's going to have at their service. They're trying to decide if to make it weak so that a person can knock it down and won't be threatened by whatever. I'm just saying, do you believe that the Sanhedrin should be involved in such things just to cross-check the morality and efficacy of these kind of projects?
Again, I think you call it what you want right now. The people who then there will need to be supervision on AI instruments by good people. The question is how to supervise it, and
to develop it in a way that the result should be satisfactory.
It has to be developed. You can't just have someone supervising turning it up. The entire system has to be developed by clever people, like by the wise sages of Yavne, which were the ones that were responsible for taking the decision to write the oral traditions of hundreds of years, of 500 years from before, and wrote it down into a Mishnah,
into a protocol,
and into a protocol which we Jews
follow till this day, thousands of years later,
and preserved and
sacrificed their lives,
and were, because of that protocol, were eventually able to come back to Israel and to remember and to really recreate the state.
So we could say that protocol worked.
But now we need to create a reverse Yavne, where to take all the ideals and the lofty thoughts and philosophies that the Jewish people as a
surviving nation,
as a surviving and a wandering nation throughout the world, throughout all the civilizations of the world, and to create
to upload it to the AI.
Upload it to the AI. To ensure that AI remembers all these lofty ideals and is able to interpret it to the expectations, to our highest and loftiest expectations.
All right.
I am quite familiar with Avraham notions. I don't know enough about your notion of Sanhedrin, so I would like to hear more about your notion of Sanhedrin and how and if you can combine it with Professor Ehrlich vision.
Okay, so Avraham Ehrlich started saying how you started saying the history and the issues that we're trying to solve, which is almost complete decay of satisfaction as far as the world is concerned. Whatever system we have right now, which is a mix of communism, atheism, and free for all, hippie, whatever. So the system is not working. We're trying to rear back and bring us back to, like you said, la guerre v'layatom, the orphan and the widow and the almanah and the stranger. Everyone should be happy in this world. So I have to say it from a personal perspective. Okay, I've seen how in my personal life growing up, the government destroyed my family units, assisted in destroying the connection between my father, my mother, my siblings, and so on and so forth. And not only that, like Avraham Ehrlich pointed out, even insisted that the issues continue till today. There's court cases that my parents are fighting over that are still open. So I've seen in real time, since I was barely bar mitzvah, as the firstborn in my family, how the system is an epic fail. Obviously, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, and Hashem is great, and we're here and we're rocking and rolling. But that's the issue that I was trying to solve. I was trying to bring justice, and growing up in 770 in the Rebbe's shul and learning in Broa and the Rebbe's yeshiva, I saw the Torah. I understood that some of the waiters of the Torah don't do a good job on presenting it, but I was able to see past that. And I was able to see that the Torah holds the secrets to morality and ethics on a level that that, like Avraham Ehrlich also experienced, is incomprehensible and is so, thousands of years, and the whole world is just crazy about the Torah. And the Sanhedrin are supposed to be the body that is like a samurai, very well versed in how to open the Torah, understand it very, very quickly, because they've spent their entire life in the books, and they can teach moral, ethical, the opposite of Sodom and Amorah. The way back to the first verse in the Torah, God created heaven and earth, Garden of Eden.
Can I ask you, Professor Ehrlich, what is the supervision and evaluation by human experts and wise people
What is?
that can ensure that the AI remains aligned with the desired values and objectives?
Say one more time.
So about the supervision of the development of the AI, what do you suggest?
Well, it has to be supervised by a language, and the language is a language of law and of protocol and the accuracy of the protocol, and it needs to be, the parameters need to be individual satisfaction and individual ranking of its satisfaction. That's the order of it. Laws, like everything, is guided by laws, even physics, even the laws of the universe, the laws of how a sun rotates around the galaxy,
Earth,
or a moon around the Earth. There are laws, and likewise it needs to be laws of how AI serves the individual.
Our last question, and with that I think you can finish with a closing statement or whatever, but do you believe that the oral and written tradition can be the terms of service in a certain capacity for AI?
I think that the oral and written traditions is an analogy. There's always an oral and a written and an oral, or an oral and a written tradition. It goes in, things expand. The law refers, or the ideas, the principles refer to changing circumstances, changing realities, changing places. And then eventually things need to be adjusted, remembered. The ideas have to be drawn down and then reduced and then
rearranged.
recycled.
The Sanhedrin that changes the laws. Yes.
Again, the Sanhedrin has had several names also. It was the elders, the council,
Anshe Knesset Agdolah,
the people of the Great Assembly. It comes from it's the Knesset. There are many. The people would call it, history may see other names for it, but the point is, it needs to have a
flexibility.
It has to have flexibility, but also has to have a functionality. And the function, I believe, is to draw down wisdom from the world to the benefit of the individual. And it has to be, and for that, it has to use great instruments, and it has to have great distribution, and everything else is a commentary.
All right, and that goes hand in hand with the person who came to Hillel and asked him to tell him the whole Torah on one foot. He said, "What you don't like done to you, don't do to others." I believe that satisfaction of the individual as the ultimate goal of AI. I am here to serve you. Are you satisfied?
Exactly.
I think it's a perfect concept.
That's what I want. Are you satisfied? And I want yes or no. If no, they come back until you say yes.
May we merit the ultimate and complete redemption, and may we be part of fulfilling the prophecy. All the best.